welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Monika and this is episode 31. I actually do have quite a lot to show you this week, mostly because it's been 2 weeks since last time I had a podcast. That's just something you have to deal with when you have chronic illness. Sometimes you're just not healthy enough to actually film a podcast. That doesn't stop me from knitting though, which is why I now actually have 4 finished projects and quite a lot of progress on my current whips. I have refrained from casting on anything new yet, which I'm very pleased with, because there's a million things I want to knit, but I want more finished objects before I cast on anything new. I have a lot of ideas, I have a lot of plans, and I know that I will be just as passionate about those projects later, but the ones that I have on my needles have been on my needles for quite a while, so I want to get them done first. Before I go into the finished objects, I want to tell you about the one knitted thing I am wearing today. Yes, I know it's June, almost July. I can't help it, I'm cold. Well, today I'm cold. Usually I'm not that cold, and today has been quite dreary. Actually, the summer so far has been quite dreary. So, yeah. Today at work I was freezing the entire day, and I had this shawl with me that I usually only put on in the morning and then just put in my backpack for the rest of the day. But I actually had to use it as a shawl because I was so cold. So yeah, I'm not quite ready to not have knitwear on me at work apparently. But yeah, this sweater is actually one that I haven't knit myself. It was a gift from my mom. It is the olive cardigan, and as far as I know, I don't think it's knit up in Knitting for Olive. It is a Knitting for Olive pattern, but I don't think it's knit up in Knitting for Olive. It also desperately needs to get both detailed and washed properly, but I'm very far behind when it comes to washing and blocking olive minutes. Usually I have around before summer where I wash everything and put it away for the season, but it hasn't gotten warm enough to actually do that yet. So yeah, I'm quite far behind when it comes to blocking and all of that. Doing the usual tidy up before summer. Haven't had a chance. So yeah, let's dive into the finished objects. I think I'm just gonna do it in the order I put them, even though I'm not even certain that's the order I did them in. Anyway, my first finished object is this t-shirt. It is a pattern that I have made myself, though the pattern is not out yet. I don't know if I will release it. If I will tell you. I do have a dream of becoming a knitwear designer, but I am trying to keep my health in mind and realize that I'm not able to do everything I want all the time. So yeah. This is a t-shirt that I knit out of Untold yarn cotton merino in the colorway Poolside blue, I think. The information will be down in this corner when I talk about the projects, and also in the description below. So yeah, this one I knit with longer sleeves than I usually do. So this one goes slightly below my elbow. I think actually it's a tiny bit too long, but I'm not gonna change this until after I blocked it, just to see how it changes. But I do think the arm length might be a tad bit too long, like a centimeter maybe, but yeah. So I'm gonna see how it fits before I decide to do anything about it. Yeah, and I knit this quite a lot longer than I usually do. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything more to say. I do have this very cute raglan detail, which is part of the design that I love. And also, there's something weird with the lighting. Come on, there you go. And also the v-neck is a bit deeper than usual because I picked up more stitches. So it lays very flat before putting it on. The first t-shirt I knit in this yarn, in this pattern, was a black t-shirt, and I thought the V was too deep for the purpose I was going to use it for. So I picked up fewer stitches to cinch it in a bit. So when I washed that before, it looked very funny, but when you put it on, it looked correct. It's the best way I can say. Yeah, it puckered a bit when I just lay it flat to dry, but wearing it, it lay very comfortably close to my skin. It like lay very nicely. Yeah. So that's the first finished object. The second finished object is, I think I'm just gonna put it here right now. It's a fix, because this is the same t-shirt pattern, but this one is knit up in a navy color. It's called... No, I completely forgotten. What is the name of this yarn? Deep Sea, of course, that's the name. And yeah, this one was a bit short, so I lengthened it, and that's the only fix I've done, only thing I've changed with this, but it had to be done, so yeah. These two will be washed and blocked hopefully quite soon, so I can use them for summer, especially this summer when it's been so dreary. Since it's cotton merino, it's not something I would wear if it was like super warm, but for the summer here in Norway it's quite appropriate, especially this year when it's just been so, yeah, wet and cold. Yeah. So I'm very happy with this one. I also picked up no more stitches on this one than I did on the first one, because I also wanted this one to lay quite flat. So I am very happy with how it looks. And I do think I did a better job with the joining of the I-cord on this one than I did on the lighter blue one. But that's just, yeah. I wasn't that proficient with the technique, I guess. Or maybe I was just being a bit sloppy. Yeah, I might fix that on the blue one if I can be bothered. Yeah. So those are the two first finished objects. One of them was just effects, but I'm still counting it as a finished object today. I don't think I'm gonna call it a finished object for like June stash down. I will just count the yarn out of the navy t-shirt. Yeah. Anyway, my third finished object is my Winter's Night Enchantment sweater. And this one I'm very happy. I finished every single scrap bit of yarn I had. I have nothing left. I knit this. This is knit up of Drops Karisma in the colorway Marineblå and Morgentåke. Morning Fog is the light one. I only had 2 skeins left of this light blue color, and I used it all in just the yoke. So I didn't have enough for the flea portion, nor the color work at the cuff or hem, but I kind of knew that going into it, because this is the second time I'm knitting this pattern. The first one is laying right over here in the corner. The yarn estimates on the website, Drops website, it's a Drops pattern. They very much overestimated how much yarn you needed for the main color. So I did buy 2 extra skeins of both, just to be certain that I had enough. And I was thinking if the yarn estimates were quite good and I would have 2 of each left over, I would have enough to make a hat with the same pattern. But I had so much yarn left over that I decided I wanted to knit myself a sweater. So that's what I did. And I am very happy. It is a bit tight around the neck, too tight for my comfort. So I think after I've blocked it, if it is still too tight, I am going to pick up right below the collar and knit back up with bigger needles, because you're supposed to use, I think it's 3mm needles for the cuff hem and all of that, and the collar, and 4 for the rest. But I only did that for the collar. I started with the 3mm needles, and I changed to the 4mm needles when I did the color work and all of that. And then when I got to the cuffs, I just couldn't be bothered to go and get my interchangeable needle set, so I just continued with the same needle size. And I did the same for the hem, and to be honest, I don't see a problem with it. I think it looks fine. I didn't do the increases before the hem that you're supposed to do when you change needle sizes. It's to avoid it cinching in too much, but since I just did the hem in the same needle size, I figured it wouldn't matter. So I just skipped those increases. I also skipped the same increases that you're supposed to do before the cuff. So yeah. If this turns out to be a problem, I will just do the same with this one as I did with the rest. Yeah, I'm also very much full of cat hair, because for some reason my cat really loves this yarn, and every time I knit on anything with this yarn, she insists on laying on top of me and like trying really hard to snuggle the yarn. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good thing. It means that she's gonna very much enjoy laying in my lap when I'm wearing this. But it is a cat hair magnet, so yeah. You win some, you lose some, I guess. But I am very, very pleased, and this color work was very fun, so I'm very much looking forward to starting my next color work project, which, if you have been here before, it's a different version of this sweater. This is the Seascape sweater, or pullover, by Andrea Hvitman. And I want to knit a second version of it because I just enjoyed the knitting experience so much. And I'm gonna knit it out of this yarn. Like that section of yarn, yeah. The brown's gonna be the main color, and the rest are gonna be contrast colors because they're like contrast stripes. So yeah, it's to get some leftover yarn out of stash, but I also think I'm gonna really enjoy it. But yeah, that's the next project when I feel like I can cast things on again. I have, as I said earlier, I'm trying very hard not to cast on anything new until I feel like I have caught up on most of my projects. I don't want to get all of them done, but there are at least 2 projects that I want done before I cast on something new, just because they've been lingering so long, and I think if I just work through them, they're almost done. I just need to get them done, to be honest. So yeah, even more cat hair, yeah. So, I'm very pleased with the sweater. I can't wait to use it, though I do think it's gonna be too warm to wear until the fall. But I do think this is gonna be a sweater I'm gonna have in my rotation for quite a while. So yeah, it's cozy, it's oversized, it's very oversized, to be honest. The length of the sleeves are quite good. You can't see that. But the length of the body is very, very long. So yeah, I just didn't want to have any leftover yarn. So I do think I'm going to enjoy this sweater a lot. Okay, I'm gonna put it away. If I had had a little bit more foresight, I would have washed and blocked this one and worn it today, but I didn't. So maybe next time, if the weather is still so dreary. We'll see. And the last finished object is also just a fix. Last summer I knit this white cardigan and I love it. And I put some buttons on it, but the buttons were way too heavy. So I took off the buttons again and bought new buttons, and then just waited half a year before I actually put the buttons on. So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna block this one again. I did block it quite recently. I've only used it once after I blocked it last time. So I do think I'm just going to start wearing it, to be honest. It is a pattern that I have made myself. It is inspired by the Japanese Stitch Bible, but I did do quite a lot of changes to it, and obviously there was no cardigan pattern in the Stitch Dictionary, so yeah. I do think this is a pattern, or like a object that my grandma has asked me to make the pattern for, because she really do want to knit it up. So I will release this pattern eventually, but I don't know if I'm going to test it first. In my eyes, it's a very geometric pattern. It is, I don't think it needs testing necessarily, because it's slightly oversized with big sleeves. I don't know if anyone even would be interested in test knitting it. I know my grandma would like it, but she would probably buy the pattern regardless, so yeah. I don't think I have anything more to say about it. I really do like the yarn. The yarn is Viking Garn Bamboo, and I think the color is just white. It's 50% cotton, 50% bamboo, so it is very much a summer cardigan. And yeah, it's only been one day so far this year that it has been warm enough to wear it, and at that point I hadn't put on the buttons yet, so I just wore it as an open cardigan with a cotton t-shirt underneath. That was actually for a work party. That's almost 3 weeks ago, I think. It was one day when it was actually warm and nice, and then it's been wet and dry ever since, so yeah. Okay, those are all of my finished objects, or whatever. So I'm just gonna move some things off here. Okay, because before I show my current current works in progress, my current whips, I want to just show you the amount of yarn I have gotten out of my stash, which I'm very proud of, because I've been working on a project. This was, or is, the yarn basket or tub, or call it whatever, that usually lives on top of this shelf. It was the yarn that couldn't fit into the shelf, and I really wanted to stash down enough that all of my yarn could fit into one bookshelf. I do think I'm gonna stash down more than just that point, because that's still a lot of yarn, but I wanted to get some of the yarn that I do not enjoy working with, or don't enjoy as much anymore, out of my stash. So this tub is full of acrylic yarn. I do have more of this acrylic yarn, but this is the skeins that I have been trying to do other projects with, which I have eventually ripped out, and I have done that a lot. But this light yarn at the bottom here, these are the last skeins I have of that yarn in that color that's been wound up, because everything else is in a project. I do think I have 1 or 2 more skeins of that, and I really do hope I do, or else I won't have enough for the project I'm working on, or I'm gonna have to pivot somehow. But yeah, I'm just gonna put that over here, because now I can show you the project I'm working on. You have seen it before if you've been here before, but if not, welcome. But yeah, this is a Petiteknit pattern. It's a champagne cardigan. I am having a hard time showing it, to be honest, because since it's a cardigan, it is just a front and a back at the moment, or like 2 fronts and a back, and I did decide to do the sleeves first, so I just knit until I had used up the ball I had for the body, and I knit the first sleeve, and I've started on the second sleeve. I think I'm halfway with the second sleeve, a bit more. Yeah. And all in all, it is quite big. This is a cardigan that I am planning on having at my office. The office is quite cold. I was going to say in the summer, but it's cold in the winter too. It's supposed to be like eco-friendly, so they don't turn the heating all the way up, and the climate this summer has been such that they haven't even bothered putting on the AC, as far as I know. Still trying to figure out how to show this in a way that actually makes sense. But yeah. So I have done all of the increases for the V for the cardigan, and are now just knitting straight for the body. And yeah, almost done with the second sleeve, I think, at least. Let me see, where is it? There it is. Yeah, I'm 2 decreases away from doing the ribbing, and it's quite a substantial ribbing, to be honest. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a bit of, since this yarn is not yarn that's suitable for blocking, so I'm going to have to do a tiny bit of like just manipulating the yarn so it will look as good as possible. So yeah, some parts of it looks a bit messy, especially the ribbing in my mind. So I think I'm just gonna do a little bit of manipulating with a needle, trying to like make it look a bit better. Though I'm very pleased with the bind off. It's Italian bind off, and I do think I did a very good job with the bind off. So yeah, that part looks good at least. I even managed to do the weaving in of the ends in such a way that I can't say where it is. Though I know which side it is on. Actually, now I can see it. Anyway, I don't think you necessarily can tell that this is where I started and ended the round. So yeah, I'm very happy with this project. The pattern was very easy to follow. I did twice rip back just to actually follow the pattern exactly. Because usually I don't follow patterns at all. This year has been a weird year because I have had quite a lot of projects I've been following. But I always make modifications to all of the patterns that I knit. Usually it's because I think they're overcomplicating things, so I do it in an easier way, or if I think it's a messy solution, I might go for a different solution to make it look neater. And sometimes it's just because I can't be bothered to decrease in the rate they want to decrease or increase in the rate they want to increase. Or because I think the pattern would look better in a different way. It's there are many reasons why I don't necessarily follow the pattern to a T. But I had decided beforehand that I would definitely follow the pattern for this one. In every aspect except for the length. Because this cardigan, I've seen, actually I do have the pattern here. I printed out the pattern, so it's black and white. But I feel like on the pattern here that it is an appropriate length for a cardigan, but it's too short compared to what I want to use it for. If I'm sitting in the office and I get cold, I would like to cover up. Okay, the coloring is off again. There you go. I would like to cover up quite far down my body, preferably all of my bum and some of my legs, to keep warm. Because if I am cold, I will be cold all over, and I'm not necessarily going to put on woolen pants, but if I could have a cardigan that's long enough that I could like really get into it, I will be able to concentrate on actually doing my work instead of freezing. That's the plan anyway. We'll see if it actually works. I actually had to leave work early today because I was so cold. So yeah, early. I was planning on working a bit later today, but I went home at a normal time because I couldn't. Yeah, I was too cold. Okay, so that's the champagne cardigan. The yarn that I've been talking about, it's acrylic yarn. It's bought at Rusta, and the yarn is called Ellen, but the colorway there's no colorway names or anything like that. If you try to order it online, it says things like blue, beige, red, grey, and you can get a very big color variation. So yeah, I'm a bit thirsty. I'm just gonna have some water. Yeah. So I bought all of that acrylic yarn. I think it's 2 years ago now. Maybe longer. No, I think it's 2 years ago. It was after I got an e-bike, but before we moved to this house. So 2 or 3 years ago. And it was because I hadn't knit for quite a while, so I didn't have any yarn myself. We used to move every year, and if I ever moved to a place, and didn't pack something out, it meant I hadn't used it. So I had a box or something with yarn that I realized I hadn't touched when we moved again the next time, so I gave it to my grandma. So I think it was like a year or 2 or 3 where I didn't knit at all. And then I picked it up again. I think I stopped knitting because I was so busy with work. And I'm kind of feeling that now. I'm very busy with work, but I like knitting. I don't want to give up that hobby. I think perhaps it was also because I was on a health kick, so I didn't have time to both knit and exercise, so I chose to exercise instead. Now I would definitely choose to knit instead. Not necessarily the healthiest, but it is what it is. But yeah, so when I started knitting again, I bought a lot of that acrylic yarn. And after I started knitting again, after I had bought that yarn, and I did use it quite a lot actually. I think I knit a sweater, I knit a poncho, I knit a scarf and a couple of socks, a hat. The hat I actually wear quite a lot. It's a very good hat yarn. And I made a cat bed and this knitting basket, though that's crochet and not knitting. Yeah, I used the yarn a lot and I did enjoy it a lot. But eventually I started to buy other types of yarn, and I went to a yarn market and I started buying a lot of hand-dyed yarn. I'm not on the hand-dyed yarn kick anymore. I do still love it, but it's easier for me to make things out of commercial yarn because I'm not so precious about it. I'm guessing a lot of you know what I mean when I say you have like a fancy skein and you don't know what to do with it, so it just sits there on the shelf. As you can clearly see, I have had that problem a lot. So my plan is to get a lot of my yarn out of stash to figure out exactly what I like and not. Yeah. I do like different yarns for different things, and at some point I was struggling to figure out what to do with all of the acrylic yarn because I was so done with like knitting scarves and socks and hats. And I think this cardigan is a good way to get rid of quite a lot of the yarn. So yeah, I do hope I have at least 2 more skeins of that acrylic yarn in that color. I know I have a lot of that yarn in general, but I want to do the bottom band in all one color, and I want the cardigan to be long enough in my eyes. I will probably stop before I get to that point and then probably have a little bit left over. But I'm also okay with if I have like this much left. I'm okay with donating that or using it as stuffing in something else. It's not the end of the world. Okay, I went on a bit of a side tangent, so I think we're just gonna continue with my projects. This is a long-term project, but relatively new for me. I cast it on, I think, during middle of June or something like that. It was definitely in June. And it's because in May I went to a wedding, my sister's wedding. And I was wearing a shawl that clashed totally with my dress, so every time someone brought out the camera, which was a lot, I was like throwing the shawl away so it wouldn't look so silly on photos later. I'm very happy with that. Most of the photos turned out quite well. but I decided I wanted a shawl that could look good on most outfits. So this is a lace shawl. It's called a Seascape shawl. Stole, actually, I think it's Seascape stole. And I'm trying very hard to cover my eyes so it might be able to focus on the actual stitch pattern. I have not gotten very far. I'm still on just the kind of like ribbing that's at the bottom. It's lace pattern that repeats, I think, like 15 or 20 times, and then you go into the more actual lace pattern that's more complicated than just repeating same row 17 times or something like that. But this is a project that I have to look at the stitches while I'm knitting. I don't necessarily need to think a lot, but this yarn is very, very sticky, because this is Hanna by Permin. It is silk and merino and alpaca, I think. I don't remember. But it is extremely soft, and it looks like mohair, but is a lot more comfortable. And yeah, I can't use mohair all by itself. I think it's way too itchy, and I just don't like the feel of it. But this yarn is very, very good. This is a very good yarn. I am planning on using all of the yarn I have of this into this shawl, and when I'm done with it, I do have, because I have this yarn in 2 different colors, so I have this, which is a kind of like a bluish grey, and I have a greenish grey. And I don't know what I'm gonna do with the other yarn. Maybe I should make a second shawl with it, or I don't know, a tiny blanket. I wouldn't use this for a baby blanket. It's too fuzzy. I would be afraid that the child would get the fuzz into their eyes or nose or mouth in such a way that it would be uncomfortable, but since they're not very coordinated, they wouldn't be able to remove it. So I wouldn't use this yarn for a child, but perhaps I could hold it double and make something very squishy and soft I could use. I don't know. Haven't figured that one out yet, but I am working through my stash, which is the most important. I've had this in my stash almost as long as the acrylic yarn, because I stumbled upon it at some point in a yarn store, and it was so soft I couldn't stop myself. And I bought way more than I probably should have, but also not enough to actually make anything out of it. I bought a weird quantity. So yeah. Okay, that's that. Second project is a pair of socks. So far I only have one, and not even a whole one yet. This is where I was last time. This is a project that have been living in my bag, so I'm only working on it on the bus, which has worked out quite well because it's been so dreary. So instead of biking to and from work, I have been taking the bus. So yeah, this is my own pattern. It is the Under the Oak socks, and these 2 colorways are quite lovely. I really love how they look together. It's made out of doll alpakka, and the colorway Purpur and Petrol Melert. And I really like it. I'm working on my gusset decreases, and I am almost done with them. I was working on the sock on the bus today, and I was so cold, and I got car sick because I was not well at all. So I came home and was really, really, really nauseous and tired, and was like, maybe my plan about filming today won't work, but it did work out. All I needed was some food, apparently, which is good to know. So yeah, I'm very pleased with this sock so far, and this is the only type of sock that I enjoy working on anymore. This is a type of sock that I always wear outside normal socks. I even use them during summer, or rather, you wear them depending on the weather, not the season. So usually these are too warm for summer, but this year, yeah, my knitwear haven't had a break yet. I'm actually wearing a pair now. They look terrible. I'm not gonna show them. And they also haven't been washed as much as they should be because they haven't had a break. So yeah. I really do like these ones. I hope I get done with them quite soon, because apparently I need more pairs. The second sock project I'm working on, I no longer have any love for, sadly. The only reason I'm still working on it is because I already have one finished sock, and it just feels silly to not finish it. The reason why I no longer have any love for it is because I have realized that I do not like to wear vanilla socks. I have 2 pairs of vanilla socks. I was so much looking forward to wearing them, and finally there was one day when it was warm enough that I could use them in a pair of cute shoes and they would like be shown off properly. And the entire day all I could think was, I hate this. I hate the way the stitches feel under the sole of my foot. I do not like this. I don't know what's going on. I cannot have knitted socks right up against my skin. It was torture. But it was very sad because I really do like those socks, and I did knit them in the size that I wouldn't need socks underneath, or rather I wouldn't have space for socks underneath. So I'm going to have to give away the socks I've already knit, and since I already have one whole sock, I'm kind of feeling like I can't just rip this out. If I only had one sock, I would rip it out in a heartbeat. But I can't do that when it's almost done. I'm in the heel flap. Yeah, I know I have like a million rows left to knit, but I'm almost there. I should just get it done. So since last time I have knit literally 1 row, 2 rows of the heel flap. So I'm just moving the stitch marker. I should really just prioritize these ones and get them done. So I'm thinking these socks should be on the top of my priority list, and I am just not motivated. The yarn is lovely. I just don't like vanilla socks apparently. The yarn is Anita Strikketante, and this is the colorway Orange. Most of her colorways are just numbers, but this one is specifically, it's called Orange. Yeah. I do hope I get through this sock. I know my mom would love a pair of socks, and she would probably prefer one of the other pairs. They already have it. But this... Sadly, this was a flop. That's why I now have very much sock yarn that I do not know what to do with, because the only sock yarn I will use for socks are now Alpakka Forte, because I really do love the socks I get with this yarn. I knit them up on 3mm needles, so I also don't get as tired with my hands when I knit up this. These socks are knit with 2.25mm needles, and that is just too tight to be comfortable to knit, especially since I'm knitting them on circular needles. I have tried knitting socks with many different methods, and this is the method I prefer. Though it's not as comfortable on these tiny needles, it's a lot more comfortable when you use 3mm instead. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about these socks. Should really get them done. Now, I only have 3 more projects to show. And I think I'm gonna just take the one at the top here. I don't think I've touched this project at all in the last week. Maybe just a row or 2. This is my red sweater. It's knit up of Strikkekista Potential in the colorway Lollipop, and it's knit up on 2.5mm needles. I really love this project. If the weather had been hotter, this probably would have already been done, but I don't feel very motivated working on summer knits when the weather doesn't seem like it's going to become summer. So yeah, it's going to become a long-sleeved summer sweater. Right now both sleeves are just put on some waist yarn. I did start knitting one sleeve more than the other. I think it's this one. Yeah, this one. But I just realized that my gauge changed because I tried knitting them on very small needles. So I started knitting too tight. So I will probably rip back the few rows I did on this sleeve and knit it up again. But the body is working out quite well. I am very pleased with the gauge I'm getting. There's nothing too complicated about this. Right now I'm just in stockinette heaven or hell, depending on who you ask. It is at least stockinette island, I guess. The whole thing is knit up in stockinette, so you only knit flat for a very few rows, very like here at the top. And now that I'm no longer doing any increases for the sleeves, I can finally just knit without thinking. But this is not the project that I've been working on. I've been working on a different stockinette project. The champagne cardigan has been the main focus. I'm really hoping to get that one done quite quickly so I can wear it at the office. This one has not had a lot of knitting time, I guess. I have knit 2 rows since last time. To be honest, I'm very happy with that. This has not been a priority, so I have probably just picked it up when nothing else. I wasn't in the mood for anything else. Yeah. Okay, putting this away. Now, the last project I haven't touched at all. Oh, not the last project. The last project in this basket. I'm trying to get my yarn untangled. That was not easy. This is my cable sweater, or my green cable sweater. It is at the moment on hold, or the body is on hold, and I have started barely on one sleeve. There's no reason I haven't worked on this. I should just work on it and get it done. But I haven't. I just couldn't bother. I know the reason why. I need to measure my first one and figure out how often I did the decreases and then do them the same on this one. I just haven't bothered. Perhaps this is what I should be working on now that I'm done with my Winter's Night Enchantment sweater. Though I do suspect I will just be working on my champagne cardigan instead. So yeah, when I'm done with the champagne cardigan, before I cast on another Seascape sweater, I should probably just finish this one. The red sweater I'm not worried about getting done at any point. It's a very much long-term project. I thought I started it August last year, but it was actually September. Yeah, if that takes 1 year, 2 years, I don't care. This one I would very much like to get done quite soon. So yeah. But I have not worked on it at all in the past 2 weeks. So, putting it back. The very last project is one you haven't seen in quite a while. I haven't felt the need to talk about it, I guess, since I have barely touched it. I actually did start working on it yesterday because I kind of felt like it had been put to the wayside. And I really wanted to do something about it. So, last time I worked on it, I was down here, and I only done back over here and then this much. So I haven't gotten particularly far at all. But I have enjoyed crocheting this. It is quite hard for my hands, so I might change to a thinner crochet hook. I think this is a 5mm. Yeah, I might change it to a 4 so I can crochet looser, though it's very important that you keep the tension on this piece to get the desired effect. As you might be able to tell, I'm just going to put this stitch marker back on. There you go. This is a planned color pooling project. So you plan, because this the color pooling in this yarn is such that you can they are the same every time. So I planned it so I got 9 groupings of double crochet in a pattern that is diagonally leaning, and because you crochet back and forth you get them leaning each way, so you get this effect where the pink and the green crosses over, and it's got this very cool diagonal pattern, which was actually why I bought this yarn. I special ordered it from America a few years ago. Probably more than 2 years ago. I remember where I worked, so it's more like 3 years ago. So the acrylic yarn has probably been in my stash for closer to 4 years now, when I'm thinking about it. Yeah, 2021, that's probably correct. Yeah, this yarn has been in my stash for at least 2.5, maybe 3 years. I bought it specifically because it was color pooling in this pattern and this colors. I loved it a lot. And yeah, it's Red Heart Super Saver in the colorway Neon. Yeah, jumbo stripes in the colorway Neon. And yeah, I had 12 skeins. I think I still have 10 or so. It's this yarn. And I'm just gonna continue crocheting on this until I don't have anything more of that yarn. And when that happens, I will have a very, very, very big blanket. Since this is also acrylic, it's not very susceptible to blocking, but I don't think that's a big problem. I have also heard that the more you wash this yarn, the softer it gets, and at the moment it's very stiff, so I do hope it gets softer with both use and washing. And this is a blanket that I'm planning on having as a cover for my bed, or as a blanket that I can use in my garden. More than likely it will be on my bed, because I'm pretty certain I'm gonna be way too precious about it and don't want anything to get stuck in it. So yeah, those are all of my projects. I am getting very tired, and I don't have a lot of life updates. I was sick last week. I'm still a tiny bit under the weather, but not sick enough to stay home from work. It's not, well, it is a physical illness, but it's not contagious. So it's not like I can get anyone else sick. I just don't have the energy to do anything more than working, which is a bit sad, because, you know, you're supposed to work to live and not live to work. Anyway, the plan for next time is I'm gonna continue working on the champagne cardigan. I'm gonna try and get these socks done, and then I'm going to try and get some work in on this one. I don't know why I haven't enjoyed that project as much. I really did love knitting on the first one, so I don't know. Maybe the timing was just a bit wrong. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say at the moment. So, thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, bye.